मेरा के जो हमारी ऑडियंस
Welcome viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am Hassan Umar and I am executive in residence in Salman Daud School of Business at LAMS, and I am looking after the supply chain and retail management MS program. We have today's webinar and our topic of discussion is how to manage challenges in the global textile supply chain. The panelist consists of Dr. Mohammad Tayyab. He is Program Director for MS Supply Chain and Retail Management Program. Welcome, Dr. Saab. And then we have Mr. Numan Aslam. He is currently working as Director of Operations at Masood Textile Mills. Welcome, Numan Saab, to the panel. And Mr. Faisal Baloch. Walaikum Salam. And Mr. Faisal Baloch, he is Chief Operating Officer at Kamal Mills Limited. So we have a great panel today, and I welcome all of you to this discussion. And I will be seeking your active inputs to make this topic interesting for the audience. So we will start the session with the brief introduction of our participants, and I will request all the participants to share their professional journey with the audience one by one. So we will begin with Dr. Tayyab first. Dr. Tayyab, over to you.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. So this is Dr. Mohammad Tayyab. I am Assistant Professor of Operations and Supply Chain Management at SDSB LAMS. So I obtained a PhD in Operations Management from Hanyang University, South Korea back in 2019 before joining SDSB as a faculty. So currently I am serving as a director and leading faculty member in the MS Supply Chain and Retail Management program at SDSB. So with the 5 years of practical experience serving the textile industry as a mid-level manager in operations management of Interloop Limited, focusing on the knitting industry, I strive to develop a deep understanding of the supply chain challenges faced by the local industry. And my current research interests are centered around developing effective supplier selection policies for the local industry setting and supply chain disruption management, to be more specific. So through my experience and research, I'm committed to advancing the field of supply chain and contributing to the growth and success of the industry globally and of course in Pakistan especially. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. And for the viewers, and especially those potential students who will be joining this program, they will get the opportunity to interact with Dr. Tayyab quite frequently. And I'm sure they will, and I'm sure they will love it. Now, with that, I will.
I hope so.
That, GG. So, with that, I will move on to Numan Aslam. Numan, can you please take us through your professional journey?
Sure, Ji Hassan sir. I have started my career back in 1994. And since then, I am with the various apparel and textile units working with, and the companies, major companies I work with are Crescent Bahuman, then US Apparel, then Nishat, then Outfitters, and then MTM. I have done my master's in textile fiber technology back in 1993, and since then I'm into the textile business. Later, I joined LAMS EMBA program back in 13 and passed out in 2015. So current responsibilities are with the Masood Textile Mills, Faisalabad in apparel division, and this is, and I'm Six Sigma Black Belt as well. And that's all from my side. A very brief journey.
Thank you, Numan Saab. आप तो मेरे senior निकले EMBA में. I was 2015, so I guess when I was entering, you were leaving. So
yeah, you pushed us out.
True, sir. True. So thank you, sir. It's a pleasure for us to be on the panel. Now I'll move to Mr. Faisal Shiraz. Faisal, please take us through your journey.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm a textile engineer. I did my textile processing majors from National Textile University, Faisalabad, back in 1998. So since then, the last 24 years, I've been working with various textile manufacturing exporters and local suppliers, uh, out of which the main ones are Alkaram Textiles, Ulama Textiles, International Textiles, Rajbi, JNP Coats, and the Lucky Group. So I've worked in all sphere of textile manufacturing, namely home textile, apparels, hospital garments, made-ups, local lawns, denim bottoms, towels and socks, and almost everything except non-movements I have an experience of working with. So currently I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Kamal Mills Limited. Uh, Kamal is this particular part of the business looks after socks and towel manufacturing, and the unit is based in Faisalabad. So this is my first major experience in this northern part of the textile industry. Rest of all of my experience have been towards the Karachi side. So I look forward for this session. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Faisal. It's a real pleasure. And as the audience can make it out that we have a very rich panel today. On one side, we have expertise and the academic excellence of Dr. Tayyab, and then we see industry experts like Noman Aslam and Faisal Shiraz. And both of them are really accomplished in their fields with more than 2.5 decades of experience under their belts. And they have been to the best of the institutes in the country. So formally, I will begin the discussion. So Dr. Tayyab, I'll come to you first, and I will request you to let us know why Alums has started this MS program in Supply Chain and Retail Management 1. And then tell us what is the structure of the program and who is an ideal candidate for this program.
Okay. So LUMS has identified a significant need for supply chain and retail management professionals in Pakistan due to the country's growing economy and the increasing demand for skilled professionals in this field. As we see digitization all around, disruptive technologies dominating the current practices, and new ways of pursuing the business. So the MS CRM program aims to bridge the gap between industry demand and the shortage of the contemporary supply chain professionals in Pakistan by providing a comprehensive, I would say, practical education to the students. So considering the ideal candidates, the program's ideal candidates are current industry professionals in the areas of, but not limited to, procurement, production, transportation, logistics, inventory management, retail management, and of course, the fresh graduates are provided an equal opportunity of enrollment who have a passion for pursuing a career in supply chain and retail management. So talking about the program itself, it's a comprehensive curriculum-based program, which is industry-led, field project providence is there, and a focus on practical skills is made. So which actually makes it an excellent choice for the individuals who want to advance their careers in global supply chain and retail management. So it's a 3-semester blended weekend program, primarily designed to compensate the availability of serving graduates in various fields of the industry. And the program has a total of 33 credit hours, and it covers 4 major modules, including the business core, specialization core, which is followed by a field thesis. So if we talk about the first module, so it includes the courses on leadership, marketing, and economics management to provide the students with a fundamental understanding of the business. So the second and the third modules are specialized courses that covers end-to-end supply chain, such as supply chain management, operations and supply chain strategy, logistics management, retailing strategy and operations, and financial management. So the last module is a 6-credit-hour industry-led field project that allows the students to work with real-world industrial problems and develop the practical solutions. So in a nutshell, the overall program's curriculum is designed to address the challenges faced by the Pakistani as well as global supply chain based industries. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Tayyib, very comprehensively explained. And I will also like to contribute my bit into it, that this is one unique program that is collaborating very strongly with the industry. And one example of that is the concept of EIR, which is executive in residence, where people like myself who have spent more than 2 decades in industry are also on board to add the requirements of industry and also work with industry and bring industry experts into the program and take their inputs and modify the program as per the needs of the industry. So clearly, LAMS being the leading university and leading business school in the country has made a great effort to bring this program to the Pakistani student community. Thank you very much, Dr. Tayyib. Now I will ask Noman to tell us about the business model of MTM and let us know that what it takes to develop a supply chain sitting in Pakistan and serving global brands. So what kind of supply chain is that, and how that is, what are the things that make us internationally competitive? Come on.
Okay. First of all, what I would like to do is that supply chain in apparel, I would like to briefly explain my viewpoint after working so many years in the apparel industry. The supply chain management, even information is part of supply chain, right? There are two sorts of supply chain management. One is the information inflow, and other is the physical movement of the materials. As far as MTM is concerned, we are one of the biggest and the leading apparel manufacturers in Pakistan, with the huge number of minutes produced every day. And we are working with one of the most biggest brands in the world, across the world, like JCPenney, PVH, Fruit of the Loom, Hugo Boss, Calvin Klein, and many others. These are the major contributors. So the challenges we face are the physical challenges in the whole supply chain range. Which pertains to most of them pertains to the external factors which are beyond our control. Those external factors generally depends upon, because mostly in apparel sector, you are dealing with the customers nominated suppliers, right? So once the information inflow is complete, disbursement of that inflow to the global suppliers of bits and pieces according to the bill of material, the whole management of that that whole bunch of things to assemble a garment and then sending it out to out from Pakistan is is very difficult to manage. It all starts from basic reactive product development. I must again repeat, reactive product development. Reactive means that customers have their own designs and they have their own products which have already been tested from their sales point of view. And then comes the bill of material, then comes the ordering, then comes the labeling, badging, and rest of the things. And from here starts the procurement of all the raw materials to put them together, right? The recent disruptions in the past 2-3 years were never seen or ever foreseen. Nobody has ever foreseen these challenges which we have faced, which includes shipping, which includes shipping in and shipping out, which includes currency fluctuations, which is then the COVID situation and later situation, overbuying from the customers in the past 2 years, and now most of the companies are sitting idle or operating at the 50% capacities. So the whiplash effect of overbuying has disrupted the whole this supply chain, supply value chain. Post-COVID operations yielded us to, what happened in the COVID is that the stores went dry, right? There were no inventories lying with the big players. What happened is that triggered exorbitant buying, or which turns out to be overbuying in the recent years. And what big customers ended up with is huge inventories, like 3 times of their normal inventories. So that was a whiplash effect of having dry stores to having very big volumes of inventories. Now what happens? A bit of recession came, and they stopped ordering. So the capacities increased by the vendors are getting dry now. So this forecast went wrong the whole way. So these are certain challenges in which you cannot comprehend or foresee these challenges. So I believe I have tried to explain a bit of what concerns are.
Thank you, Noman Saab. So Noman has basically explained the complexities and the challenges that are inherent in this global supply chain. And Noman, I will come back to you on the same issue, but first let me take views from Faisal about the same issue. That what is their business model, and how they are kind of addressing the issues that you have mentioned: the bullwhip effect, the building up of inventories, the wrong forecasting, or the errors in forecasting, or the global recession or pandemic, these kind of disruptions that create havoc in the supply chain. So a business model basically is designed in such a way that can absorb these disruptions, and you can be successful in that. And a customer, such as in a global supply chain of global brands, they're always looking at the price, they're always looking at the in-time delivery, and they're always looking at that their supply chain doesn't dry up or doesn't have those higher inventories. So how are you catering to these challenges? What are your major global customers to whom you are serving, and what similarities or differences you kind of can think of while trying to achieve the same KPIs sitting in Kamal versus what Noman is doing at MTM? Faisal.
Basically, the Pakistan's textile manufacturing arena is, especially the value-added side of the business, is mainly on make-to-order. So if you go downstream, you can have these spinning mills which churn out a couple of counts of yarns every day, single day, regardless of whether they receive their orders in future or not. So their whole units are designed on cost and efficiency models, whereas the rest of the industry make to stock. So the rest of the industry, since it's make to order, so the cycle actually begins from the inquiry of the order, and then it's a big journey from there. The sample development and product development, and then achieving the testing protocols with multiple submissions, having the feedbacks, and then the global distance that the sample usually have to travel from Pakistan to either Hong Kong, Singapore, or New York, maybe in Europe, Germany. So that transit time, since the security scenario of our country is not as such that the buying houses have, most of them have gone out of Pakistan's base, and they are now operating either from Bangladesh or from India or from even Singapore and Hong Kong. So the transit of all the samples and the communications have brought a new kind of a challenge. Earlier on, I remember when I joined the industry, we were not having this so-called war against terror, and the security situation was much, much better. So I used to remember in early days of my career, lots of foreigners coming in, having meetings, staying in Pakistan, even in Karachi, for a good time. And every month or so, they will be there discussing the supply chain strategies and ordering and reviewing the sample submissions, giving out approvals or commenting on the improvement sides of the part. So that has gone down. So now, since we are make to order and we have to start order from the scratch, and sometimes the perception of the designers who have ordered from scratch has some kind of errors, and to prove those errors, we have to fight that this product or this particular specification is not achievable in this kind of say fabrication or manufacturing. So that was one of the challenge, and make to order, as Numan Saab also highlighted, that most of them usually have the nominated suppliers. So all the supplier managed inventory or supplier or vendor management ideas of supply chain go down the drain at that time. You don't have the control on the cost. You don't have the control on the deliveries. You can't force them to improve. Of course, there are few good examples as well in this scenario. And of course, one can get an added benefit of not achieving the delivery timeline because of customers, supplier screwing up their supply chain. So usually, in the scenario where we have to select our vendors or suppliers, another part of challenge comes in: the reliability of the quality, the on-time deliveries of the product, or sometimes the cost, because of the cost pressure, the submission of the sample and the production, the quality parameters are switched. And then there are different milestones that one has to achieve to fulfill an order towards the shipment. So it's not only about product development, then comes in another big chunk of different level of compliances. Like there are, if you are inducting a new customer, you have to have certain level of social compliances in place. ISO 9000 have become a very small thing in that term. You have to comply for REACH, OCOTEX, their own code of conducts, and then SA 8000 and this Better Works. And now we are hearing about Accord, and you have to comply on the effluent levels. So there is a lot of stuff going on around there as well. The kind of interruption and disruptions that we have seen in the last 3 years, I agree with Numan Saab that the world was not ready for it. The whole supply chain fraternity have never seen such a disruption so many disruptions, I would rather say. This is not a single disruption. So, which started out with COVID, and then the shortages of the material and the intermediary products, and then congestion at the ports and the shipping congestion, and then ultimately the classic example of bullwhip effect of heavy ordering, and so much so that they end up with huge inventory levels. And at that time, we also saw a major expansion in Pakistan when this bullwhip effect was in place, when the ordering was increasing. We saw government giving out loans to several companies to increase their market share and create more jobs. So we saw all that, and the investments that were made were very sudden and, of course, not sustainable. So the demand, again, coupled with the recession, as Numan Saab also correctly highlighted, triggered an effect of our whole manufacturing supply chain being extremely non-cost effective or non-efficient that we are having it now. Being a part of the second biggest socks manufacturer and exporter in Pakistan, we had to do several measures of cutting down our cost, maybe a few layoffs here and there to minimize the expenses and keeping the boat afloat. So we had really a tough time in terms of, and that time is still not over. So we don't know. Initially, we were told that this recession is going to pass. It's because of US-Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine war. and it keeps on happening. And then the local scenario of our government or political unrest in the country. So this has triggered the supply chain even further. So at the end, I believe that all things are going to get settled down. But the supply chain is the pivotal point of these whole disruptions in order to either nullify the negative impacts of these disruptions. Supply chain experts or the fraternity have a big, huge gap to fill in terms of understanding these as well as any other future disruptions that we might have. I believe the disruptions are not over yet, and these are going to be the norm of the day. So unless we are ready for any kind of disruption through either automation or cost cutting or demand planning, maybe I would talk about later about the technical aspects of handling a complex supply chain, like incorporating blockchains or AI or Industry 4.0. So the global supply chain professional has to really be on his toes in terms of reading the market norms and the conditions, and maybe have to be a couple of steps ahead from the global scenarios in order to succeed or to make their company succeed in the current markets. So
thank you, Faisal. Very comprehensively explained the current scenario and what kind of disruption the industry and overall the country has been through. And the times that we see today are unprecedented. The crisis that we are having on our balance of payments and crisis in terms of our external liabilities for the country, the inflation, and then the disbalance that we have in terms of what we export and what we import. And this particular industry, textiles, being the backbone for the country's economic prosperity, is the way it is evident today. It was never evident in the past. So it is critical that we take measures and we come up with business models and measures that can really, put us in a situation where we can be competitive with the world and we increase our exports, which are obviously required for the economic well-being of the country. So the same question, the same issue, because as we will move forward in the program, in this session, we'll try to figure out that what are the solutions also. So Numan, we have seen that this pandemic thing has opened up opportunities for Pakistan, where brands like Hugo Boss and Calvin Klein and other leading brands have come to Pakistan. So this opportunity has brought certain challenges. Like, for example, for Hugo Boss or Calvin Klein, they have their compliance requirements in terms of what we do to the environment, what we do to the people, and what we do to the business in terms of sustainability. Now, with these kind of disruptions, with these kind of things that Faisal has just mentioned, the layoffs, the fuel cost, the built up of inventories, investments that have been done in view of the very high order intake and the expectations that now is the time to invest, and people have invested so much into expansion and all that. And now with all of a sudden with this recession, and now people are 50% of their capacity, 30% of their capacity, major right sizing, major downsizing is going on in the industry. So your views that what is the way forward, and also what MTM is currently doing, like in this situation where you have the customers and you have to, fulfill their requirements, and we see that LC is not being opening, and, even procuring raw materials has become difficult. So if there are things that are being done, one, secondly, what should be done? Like, for example, how to survive in such a situation, what kind of business model we should have that should be able to survive in such a difficult scenario?
Okay, I will, before answering your question, I would like to highlight one more thing which I missed somehow. Why so much huge ordering was done in Pakistan? The reason was during COVID, Alhamdulillah, Pakistan was the least affected country in apparel sector manufacturing, right? India was closed, Sri Lanka was closed, Vietnam was closed, Bangladesh was closed. So everything, started pouring into Pakistan, and that, resulted in huge demand, and obviously it put pressures to, your inventory levels of raw materials, your financial inputs. Then the problem comes in from, importing things and, processing them and sending them out. The biggest challenge with Pakistan apparel industry is that the inputs for making a particular garment, except the cotton and the dye stuff, is not manufactured here. Even the hang tags are not manufactured here. The printing inks are not manufactured here in Pakistan. For the denim jeans, even your buttons are not manufactured here, right? So when the bill of material comes, you start developing the product. And then you send it out, then second iteration, then third iteration, then fourth iteration, and then you got a sample approved. In the meanwhile, you are, ordering things for running the order. So that whole process takes generally 2 to 3 months. And then you start processing orders, and then you ship it out. In the meanwhile, you got the bill of material, and then you start ordering for the products to assemble those garments or the apparel product. So first of all, if I have to do it, what I'm going to do is that I will make strategic partnership with our customers, and the opportunity lies with the current facilities like artificial intelligence available, the 3D modeling of the products, the virtual sample making to avoid those initial months, so that you can give more time to the physical supply chain, which I have already mentioned. Right? There is a lot of work going on. Further, I'm getting into a very bit of nitty gritty, but since this program which Dr. Tayyab and rest of the team is focusing on is on the supply chain management, we cannot just skim through. We have to deep dive into the actual challenges. What I can do is that in some time I can make my version of a PPT slide, which can on one page define the whole challenges in the process value chain, so that they can put it in front of the audience or the students or prospective professionals which are coming into the way. So
Noman, I get from where you are coming, but in the interest of time, because we just have another 10 to 15 minutes to wind up the whole thing, if you can just let's say share the building blocks, 4 or 5 things that if we bring them in, we can solve the issues, or this is the way forward.
Okay. I think usage of virtual sampling softwares, right? Joint collaboration with the customers for putting their orders, because they punch in their orders in their softwares, and then we retranslate it, and that takes whole time and whole lot of people to do it. Then since we are into this apparel business, we have to develop a supply chain of accessories manufacturing industry in the Pakistan. It's a huge potential.
Localization of all the components.
Localization of even your printed tags are not available here, and your printers can do it, but compliances in the usage of azo-free dyes and rest of the things, our suppliers do not work on them. So that's why we have to import them, and that takes its due course. And so these three areas, key areas, if we have to flourish our apparel sector, we have to go for localization, usage of 3D modeling, and a collaborative software where they can punch their orders, and then rest of the thing is just movement of the product.
And
Because
localization, I believe, also need to extend on the dyes and on inks and all these things that we keep
that's
importing.
These are the inputs. These are the bare minimum inputs which everything you are importing, and with the current pressure on the reserves, which are not going to to be ironed out very soon. So we have to get prepared for development of support industry, which result in a good product. So
Thank you, Numan.
these are my
Great, brilliant. Faisal, will you like to add one or two building blocks into the model that Numan has proposed?
Yeah, the main component that I would believe, I would agree to what Noman Saab has said. But having said that, we have to create a strong OTD culture. Usually, we calculate the OTD from the shipping out date, when it was required to ship and when it actually got shipped. But then there are hundreds of milestones in between from order receiving till shipment. So usually, we just create pressure on our supply chain when it's at the end of the supply chain. Mainly in textile value chain, it's the stitching department. But usually, if the yarn doesn't come on time, it won't get dyed on time, it won't get processed on time, and so on. The whole impact delay got at the end of the chain. So we have to create a strong OTD culture, and to monitor that OTD, you have to have a very strong and good ERP system in place, which highlights the anomalies that are going to be faced and the missed deadlines, so that the accountability can happen immediately. The localization, of course, that's a key part, since we don't manufacture anything in-house. And a couple of additional things that those are the collaboration with our competitors. Usually the competitors safeguard their normal manufacturing practices like they are making some nuclear bomb. So those are not strategic things. It's just the experience of industry. So our industry is really locked down in terms of sharing the good or bad practices, failures or successes. If they have decreased their energy prices through some initiative, they would like to hide it until a person leaves the job from company A and goes to company B. So
we need to learn from companies like Apple and Microsoft, who has been the rivals, and then they became the collaborators.
Of course. And then the overall Kaizen culture, or the improvement culture of continuous tweaking and playing and fiddling to understand the customer and the challenges of the supply chain. So these are generally, in a nutshell, few of the initiatives that we must take to handle these disruptions that we are just facing.
Great, Faisal. Great input. Dr. Tayyab, I will come to this, that what LUMS is going to help, or how LUMS is going to help solve these issues. But before that, please tell us about the culture at LUMS and how learning is facilitated at LUMS. And, especially if somebody like a mid-career professional wants to really, make a serious career into supply chain and retail management. So this MS program, does it has the flexibility to, you touched on it. So I was curious to, find out that how this program can really help a professional such as I have explained to, pursue this program.
Yeah. So at LUMS, we prioritize a learning environment that is collaborative, challenging, and diverse as well. And our faculty members are experts in their fields and strive to provide the latest knowledge to our students. We use the case studies, which is again a flagship of LUMS. We use the simulations, guest speaker sessions, industry visits, and eventually a rigorous field thesis to provide a practical and relevant learning experience to our graduates. And if we talk about our course contents, so they are continuously updated to reflect the current industry trends and practices, as already mentioned by our industry panelists here as well. So actually, LUMS believes in instilling leadership and critical thinking skills into our students. So this program covers a wide range of topics, considering the supply chain integration with other business units and more. So lastly, our program is primarily designed to accommodate the working professionals, as you were asking us, who can apply the concepts learned in the classroom to their day-to-day jobs. Again, they can come back and they can share their findings, what they have learned, and how it is applicable in the industry, and if there's some tweaking is required. So we continuously update our course contents accordingly. And eventually, we believe that this program can help the working professionals especially advance their careers and contribute to their organizational success by continuously improving the processes over there.
So Dr. Tayyib, you were mentioning earlier on that it's blended learning. So what combination of online and on-campus classes? So a professional, if a professional comes and joins it, so how much time they have to give on campus? What is the frequency that they need to come to campus? And like somebody in Karachi or somebody in Peshawar or somebody in Multan, can they also join the program?
Yeah, of course, we have already taken care of these things once we designed the program. So it's a bi-weekly program in which initial bi-week is on campus, so that the professionals can come and they can realize the effectiveness of the things, and eventually they can build on the activities being performed in others industries as well. And the next bi-weekly is actually the online, so that they can have a freedom of attending the classes from their own vicinities. So this is the same thing which move on until unless we complete our 20 sessions.
So this is like you have to come to campus only once a month on a weekend.
Yeah.
So that's very flexible, and a lot of it opens a lot of opportunities for people in any city of Pakistan, and they can manage just once a month visit to the campus.
Exactly.
Great.
And we have
Excellent.
already capitalized on this idea, and we have a student base all around Pakistan.
Great. So now let's move towards winding up the session with a very key question to the panelists. So I will want the same question to both the panelists one by one. First, I will ask Noman and then to Faisal, that the challenges that we have mentioned relates to other factors, but the very important factor is the human factor. So what kind of skills and competencies you look for future supply chain managers? And what are those skills, what are those competencies that can help organizations like all textile companies of Pakistan to manage these challenges? Briefly, Noman, first I will seek your response.
What I think, what I foresee, or what I would be looking for upcoming professionals is a very strong acumen of operations management, right? Because they need to understand the whole process value chain first, and then they can make some changes to their profile to become a supply chain professional. It's not all about procurement department or logistics department, or it's a complete setup which needs to be taken care of. And unless you understand the whole process value chain in depth, you cannot. Number two would be a software support. Must be they must be well equipped with the usage of analytical tools. May it be the company's software BIs or Excel or whatever, so that they can analyze the whole problems and whole of the challenges, and they can and then obviously the urge to be doing it. So I think the level of seriousness is very important, and moreover, the practical part in generally in the programs which are conducted in most universities, the practical part is generally missing. The students are not, they are sent for internship or a few weeks collaboration or a bit of industry visit report sort of thing. But it's like they are not rigorously following what they are supposed to. It might be an off time for them. So strict monitoring of that program has to be done. Like my experience with AMBA, we studied for 2 years, and the 10-15 days program outside Pakistan was on one side, and the whole experience was on the other side, because we were, we were into the middle of the, where things happen or where things originate, right? So we were at the heart center of everything, and those 10-15 days learning was, amazing. And it was, 7 to 2 a.m. sessions, and it was very, very. So
since you have touched on this part, Numan, since you have touched on this part quickly, how was your experience at LUMS when you were here for 2 years? So like, how was that?
To be very honest, in the beginning, it was such a drop from the height in the first SOP session, where Dr. Jamshed gave us so many knee jerks, and most of us were thinking that why don't we go back to the jobs? And it was a roller coaster ride, and every next morning we come up with a big surprise. And Dr. Arif Rana and Dr. Jamshed were, and it was an amazing journey. The collaboration, the networking we have done, it became a second family to us. All those class fellows were amazing. The environment was amazing, and LUMS never comes low. Their expectation is, where your imagination stops, their expectation starts from there. So that's the pull.
So that
they are not pushing you; they are pulling you.
And yeah, true. Thanks, Numan, for your insights. So quickly, I will ask and request Faisal to share his views on the competencies and the skills that are required from the future supply chain managers who can, really manage these kind of challenges in global supply chains. Faisal, your views, please.
So on a lighter note, since I'm the only non-LUMS person, so I believe it's not for the faint-hearted.
No, not at all. It's just to kind of, share the commonalities.
Sure. I would like to share my screen, if you allow me to.
Sure. It's allowed.
Yeah. All right. Just a sec. Here I've made a small slide for you guys so that while I explain it in a couple of minutes, you can clearly see where I'm taking it. So I find 4 key competencies to be in high demand for even myself and for the rest of the companies. So there are 4 key areas where a supply chain professional have to excel in, or at least work towards excelling in. So the first one, as you can see, are the supply chain technical competencies, in which the theories that you have learned during your courses, the warehousing formulas, the inventory management, the reorder point or the reorder levels, and all of those things, and how to plan the logistics and the routing, and evaluating the demand, and forecasting different level of scenarios. This is usually the thing that we usually get. The other part, the rest of the three parts are usually missing in the supply chain professionals that I interview. One is the people competencies. So they think that they know all the formulas and they know all the methodologies. So they don't have to be good with their presentation skills or their communication skills. And they don't really believe that you have to work as a team. They don't have to lead from the front. They don't really need to have good negotiation skills. Well, if they think that way, that's entirely wrong, because these are a few skills that not only supply chain, but all the professions will have. One thing in the past that has changed drastically is that seeing supply chain management as a generic role has been wrong. You can work in a finance department of a pharmaceutical company and then shift easily towards an automobile manufacturing, towards a service software house, and you won't find any challenges with it. But with supply chains, since it's very much attached to the operations management of the business, you really have to select the area of or the industry of the supply chain that you would like to compete in, because then you will be investing your time towards it. You can't just have flirts with many industries in the supply chain sphere and then not learning the core technical requirements of that industry, because that brings in the business segment competencies part, where you have to really learn, as Numan Saab also highlighted, the operations management of that particular industry is very important. If you don't know the product, you don't know your customer, you don't know your market, you don't know how it's produced. So providing solution will be very challenging for you, or to fit in will be not an easier task. So then you'll have to propose different problem solving skills. The Kaizen mindset has to be there. Until and unless you learn the business, the core, besides the supply chain side of the business, the main operational and manufacturing aspect, or the internal value chain or supply chain of the manufacturing business. And then last but not the least, the technological competencies, the breakthroughs that we are seeing in terms of these IT related technologies, AI and data management, data sciences. Usually the people are not that IT savvy. They think that Excel is only used to make a table. They don't know how to work with regression models. They don't know how to automate their warehouses, the tools that they can have to reduce their cost or to increase the optimization, the industry 4.0 standard, the Internet of Things, and the tools like, we are still stuck with barcodes. The world has moved on to RFIDs and they are still moving further, and the sophistication of the technologies is still there. But our industries in totality are lacking all these competencies, and the supply chain professional will have to come in and propose the working solution of implementation of these solutions, so that the goal can be achieved, and the whole end-to-end supply chain can be managed in an efficient manner. So until and unless these supply chain professionals have their focus on a certain industry, and then they work towards all these four focused areas. So I believe I would love to have an individual who would have these four areas addressed. Of course, there will be instances where a certain professional have come in from some other industry, but then it has shown a mindset of adopting or learning the internal operations of that business model. So that would still make it to my particular approval list. But if the person has just locked himself up and they say that they've only learned pharmaceuticals and they can't learn textile or automobiles or any other dimension or the segment of the business, so they really have to be smart. They really have to have thinking minds on their shoulders, and the continuous improvement cycle, they really have to be smart. So they won't get any textbook of those segments. They really have to make their hands dirty and go down on the shop floor and learn all those dimensions. Nobody is going to tutor them on their jobs and tell them that this is how a garment is made. They really have to involve themselves first, complete their own role, and then they have to start learning those dimensions. And since they have learned the operation side of that particular business, I think it's not a very smart move to change industries that often then. So that then it becomes a particular textile supply chain professional or a pharmaceutical supply chain professional or an automobile supply chain professional Otherwise, you will downgrade yourself in terms of growing the corporate ladder up in the market. I believe the supply chain right now is the only single discipline of any company which can have a complete sphere, the whole dimensions of the manufacturing or a service industry. So they have to complete these whole four segments to be likable or desirable in the job market. Thank you.
Thank you, Faisal Saab. This is, I think, you have just nailed it. And I will want you to let the slide on the screen for a while, because I want Dr. Tayyib's inputs and insights that how these skills, our MS Supply Chain and Retail Management program is going to cover. And also, I think the way you have expressed it in the framework is exceptional. Noman was also talking about all these things and the end-to-end concept and the analytics part, and then the the leadership part. So all of that is very well covered. So Dr. Tayyib, please your final thoughts on this, and then we can see if there are any questions from the audience. We can address those, and then we can take it further from there.
Yeah. Building on, at LUMS, we aim to develop the skills and competencies as identified by our industry experts through a rigorous curriculum that encompasses both theoretical and practical components. So our program focuses on a range of topics that are critical to the success in the field of supply chain and retail management. So the main focus is on advanced softwares and technology like ERP and SAP. And again, if we go a bit deep into these four domains which were shown over here, so our study postures actually include several factors which are addressing the main traits of these domains, such as the supply chain optimization techniques, as already mentioned by our industry experts. We talk about the data analysis and business analytical skill development in our graduates. So main focus of our data analytics, business analytics side of the courses is on deriving the managerial insights from the data analysis. And we talk about the business acumen to integrate the supply chain across different business units to cater the end-to-end supply chain. We talk about the supply chain collaboration by talking about the coordination of the different business units. And if we talk about the business core, so we actually talk about the leadership skills which are required for the supply chain professional. We talk financial analysis and management skills. And once we enter into the specialization course, so we emphasize on critical thinking and problem solving skills using the softwares. We talk deeply about the decision making skills in uncertain and complex environments. And eventually we talk about the end-to-end supply chain, starting right from the supplier risk reduction strategies until the transportation routing and fleet management, and eventually the retail management, including the last mile delivery, among others. So actually, through a combination of the classroom instruction, case studies, group projects, and presentations of the recommended solutions and their pilot runs especially, and eventually the industry-led field project, we try to support our students develop the necessary skills and competencies to become the effective supply chain and retail management professional. So I would say our program provides students with a holistic understanding of the supply chain, along with the tools and techniques to optimize and manage it effectively. So what it does is actually it enables our graduates to become the valuable assets in terms of the supply chain integration and problem solving. Yeah.
Well, I would like to.
Please.
Sorry, I would just like to add a very small bit of from my side. If you divide this program into customer relationship management or module, internal supply chain management, and then supplier relationship management, right? So if you segmentize the whole program into these things and train your students in these areas, and obviously the points I have already highlighted, fill the gaps or the challenges which we are facing of not having the relevant industry for our inputs, especially in the apparel sector. So that needs to be, fulfilled, defining the needs and then putting it in again to the VCs or whatever. If somebody wants to have a startup, then these are the areas where supply chain of apparel sector can be improved.
Great input, Noman Saab. We will communicate your inputs to our committee that keeps looking at the program structure and all that. And we are very proactive in evaluating, re-evaluating, and making the improvements. Now, with this, our session of today comes to an end. And here I would like to remind the prospective students that they need to occasionally visit our website and look for the key dates. So our admission deadline is normally somewhere close to mid of April. So please look at the exact deadline on the website so that you don't miss it. That is one. Secondly, keep tuned up on our Facebook page to look for future seminars. This was the first of the seminars in the series of seminars that we will be organizing for our audiences, so that you get to know better about what is happening in the supply chain and retail industry in Pakistan. We'll keep inviting industry professionals and faculty at SDSP LAMS to these sessions and benefit from their experience and their knowledge. And together we can create a well informed and knowledgeable supply chain community. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Noman Saab, Faisal Saab, Dr. Tayyab. It has been a pleasure. Thanks a lot for joining.
Thank you so much, everyone.